Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Tune In Tuesday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine in the United States. Every second and fourth Tuesday, I like to bring you an online class, and tonight's class features Latte Love. Now this is the stamp set, and there is a coordinating die set, but there's also other products in this set of online exclusives. There is a ribbon, and there are dots, and there's a designer series paper, and I'm going to show you them all this evening. Now, whether you are a coffee lover or not, I think you're going to love and see the endless possibilities found with this suite. Let's check it out. For this first card, we are going to bring in a piece of thick basic white cardstock. It measures 5.5 by 8.5, and it is scored, and we're going to fold it at 4.25, which is in half. Trying to find my bone folder here. Here we go. We also need a piece of regular basic white, and it is 4 inches by 5.25. I've taken a piece of the designer series paper, that beautiful Lost Lagoon, and I've cut this to 4 inches wide by, I think, 3/4 inch high. We need a scrap of Lost Lagoon and a scrap of crumb cake, and then I'm bringing in about a 3-inch piece of this burlap, or this, they call it Naturals polka dot trim. First thing we're going to do is start with the piece that measures 4 by 5.25. I'm going to bring in my sentiment here that says, "You're the best part of my day." And I will be stamping that in early espresso. And I want to stamp that about 1 inch from the bottom here. Okay. I also need to do some other stamping, and for that I'm going to bring in my crumb cake piece that I just had somewhere. Oh, here it is. My crumb cake piece, and I might as well bring in this at the same time. I'm going to add the heart latte decoration, I don't know what you call it, the swirly part. Also going to be stamping that in early espresso. I'll talk about the class kit in a little bit. After probably another card, but Stampin' Up! does not allow me to send stamp images through the mail with your kit. So I can provide you with all this cardstock, but you will need the stamp set if you want to create this exactly as is. But I'm going to send you the cards and pieces, and you can do whatever you want with them if you don't own this bundle and don't want to own this bundle. I'm also going to bring in my Lost Lagoon ink pad, and I'm going to get that overview of the cup. I'm going to stamp that right there. Okay. So all our stamping for this card is done. Now we just need to do a few more things and we'll be done. I need to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine next. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss this layer that we had previously stamped on. Now, some of you may be asking why I didn't do that right after I stamped. I do like to give my ink a little bit of time to dry so that it doesn't transfer to my folder. We're going to put the folded end in through first, And this is the crosshatch pattern from the Basics 3D Trio of embossing folders. That is an online exclusive. Now remember, with the online exclusives, you want to get them as you see them, because there is no promise of a tomorrow for them. They are not in a catalog, and so when they are gone, if Stampin' Up! Chooses not to order more, then they are gone for good. And now what I want to do is I want to take these pieces and I want to cut them. So I still need that number 1 plate, but I will need the number 2 plate, and I will need a number 3 plate. Then I will need my stamped images and with the dies on top of them. Get those out. If you want to secure this with a Post-it note or some washi tape that you have kicking around, you can do that. Just trying to, a couple different lines, so I just want to get this as best I can. All right, I'm gonna live on the edge a little bit and just try to do it without the washi tape. I just kind of put it down and I squeeze it to get it started. Let's see how we did. Not too bad with that. And pretty good with that. Now it's just a matter of assembling our project. We'll bring in our card base. And we do want to attach this, and I'm just adhering it with basic adhesive. I'm not using dimensionals. I am going to use dimensionals in a little bit, but not for this layer. Because I'm using dimensionals somewhere else, I don't like to use it here. Too thick, and the post office will not like it. Now we're going to bring in that little strip that we had. And I'm going to adhere that just above my sentiment. If we bring in that, it's about a 3-inch piece, what I am going to do is I'm going to angle this. Now, I can put might as well put my cup together while I've got it out, my glue out handy. Okay, and let's see, I got to figure out how I'm gonna put my cup there. So if I put the candle up like that, I want my heart straight. So maybe we do something that looks like that right there. Okay. I do need to adhere this down to the center. If I put this over it, you see how much this hangs over? I'm just going to angle this a little bit. I'm going to angle, cut it, and then I'm going to glue it down. And I'm just going to put some glue right down there. You can use tear and tape to hold this down, or you can use glue dots. The glue does take a little bit to set up. I probably would recommend glue dots if I did it again, because that does take a second just to set up. And then we're going to bring in some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm sort of nearing the end of mine. So I'll be using the edges up. And I'm going to try to keep this somewhat balanced. So put on 3 here. Okay, and I have something that looks like that. And there we go. And there's my card. There's my outside. Now, if you wanted to come back in with your little coffee piece with the heart, you can bring that in and stamp on the inside. Now, of course, this could be a card for a lot of different reasons. Sorry, I didn't put my stamp on very good before I inked it up. So now I've got inky hands. That's all right. I'm gonna try not to touch it where I shouldn't. This is probably a note card. If I wanted to make it a birthday card, I could just find a birthday sentiment and from another set and add it. But I've got this little decoration down here, and that kind of completes it. You can also stamp that on the envelope to get a nice coordinating look. And that is our first card. For this next card, I'm going to bring in a piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'll be bringing in the DSP that I used in the last card, this beautiful Lost Lagoon stripes, and I'm going to be cutting this slightly smaller, about 1/4 inch smaller in both directions. So I need this to be 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And I want my 3 1/2, I want it to be the short side. I need this portrait. I want the lines going down. So, and I need it to be 4 3/4 inch tall. You can save this for some other project. And this is just going to get mounted together. We can do that right now. I love Lost Lagoon. So this is a color that had been an in color that came back as a core color. And I think I did not appreciate it as much as I do now. It's really one of my favorite colors now. I'm going to take that polka dot trim that we used last time, and we're going to wrap this around the card and secure it on the back. Now you can secure it on the back with regular tape. You can use a glue dot. Let's see, I think I'll use a glue dot here. And I just want to make sure it's kind of straight. I'll wrap it right around here. So this is about, I don't know, 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches up from the bottom. And we just need another glue dot here. I try not to touch my glue dots because that takes some of the stickiness away. So there we go. We'll just adjust it slightly. So there we go. And now we're going to adhere that to a card base that is in the hot dog cut. So it is a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of thick basic white. And I've got it scored at 5 1/2, which is halfway. We'll burnish that, and there's our card front. So I love a lot of clean colors and white, bright white. I think that's kind of my aesthetic. It's what I gravitate to. And we're going to put this down. Now this, you could choose to put this on dimensionals, but I don't think it really needs it. Yes, there is a thickness to this ribbon, but it's not so thick that I can't lay this down. It works. You can go ahead and use dimensionals if you would prefer, though. All right, now for some other elements, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in my other DSP. I bring in this sheet. I want a complete coffee cup, and I can choose to either die cut this or I can fussy cut it. I'm going to show you how easy this is to fussy cut. but you certainly can die cut it instead. Because everything is, you know, there's really not a lot of movement around this cup, I find it's probably just as easy to fussy cut as it is to get out my die cutting machine, which I am going to need in just a second, so I guess it's not saving me that much. You know, but position it with a washi tape, stamp, you know, all that stuff. So you can see the cuts are pretty easy. Just round and round we go. Okay, so there we have that. And there's just a little rough spot right here. We're gonna just soften that. There we go. And I do need a few other pieces. So I'm going to bring in a 2-inch circle punch and a piece of vellum that I just dropped on the floor. Punch this out. This just gives a little bit of softness to the card. And I want to bring in a couple of die cuts. I'm going to just take some scraps of cardstock here. I'm going to bring in just the coffee cups. Let's see. Oh, that one's not big enough, so I need a slightly larger scrap. So here we have that. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Stylish Shapes dies. These are just a really great set of dies to have. Some basic generic shapes. I'm going to use this. I think I'm going to use the second largest square. And I'll be trimming or cutting a piece of basic white cardstock with that. So again, just using up my scraps, going into my little scrap bin. I don't think this one's big enough. It's not. So we need to go in and get a larger scrap. Okay, so I have another scrap here that I can cut that from. And I can die cut these all at once. I find with just a little planning ahead, you make your life a lot easier. You only have to make one pass through versus 3. I'll put this one up here. Put this one up here. And because this is got a hard, like a really strong edge, I'm gonna make sure that we're angling it so that a point goes through versus a hard edge side. All right, let's try not to wiggle the camera too much. These little coffee cups, by the way, are just so cute. If you find that the coffee cups get stuck in there, you just drop it and see this little piece popped out. Generally dropping your die on this hard surface will pop those pieces out. No problem. And then this one just needs a little encouragement because of all that stitching to come out. All right, we'll put that away. Now we're ready to finish assembly. I'm going to bring in my card base again. And then we'll do some assembly of pieces that we have. So this is just going to go in the back a little bit. And we're going to be covering it up with this little square that's slightly above, or this is slightly below center. I'm just going to lay it out right here so I know where all my parts and pieces are going to go. Let's bring in my coffee cup. And something like that. And we'll just add my little pieces here. We are going to need a sentiment. I think I will bring in the thanks so much sentiment here. That'll go nicely right along the bottom of that stitched shaped square. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I should have done this earlier. I forgot to trim a little piece off this, this trim here. Now, you can use, if you have it, you can just use some of this linen thread. It's a slightly different color, but it will work. Or what you can do, and let me see if I have another piece of the trim available. You could bring in this trim. I'm just going to take a little 1-inch piece off. I don't want to waste it too much. And to get a little bow to tie on here, you can just go in, and it's like there's grooves in here. You can just cut that off and then tie this in a knot. Now, I actually have a piece that I had previously trimmed off when I did this with my team. So I'm going to bring that in. This is what it looks like after you trim it off. You can go ahead and tie it in a knot, or in a bow, I should say. It's just a little bow. And we're going to put that on our card as well. All right, let's go ahead and let's see. I do need to glue this down, and this corner right over here is where the adhesive is going to go so that it doesn't show. I'm going to just put that. That's going to be covered up. We'll be all right with that. Now I will stamp on my basic white piece. Just going to stamp the "Thanks so much" in Early Espresso right down here at the bottom. If I assemble my pieces, remember where they have to go. Let's see, I think something like this. Right up here at the top, I'll let the stitching show through still. And then maybe I put on one of these. Now, I've noticed that, so in order to get this like little rim effect, it is actually die cut in there. So you don't want to put glue too close to that or it's going to seep through. So maybe we do something that looks like this. Maybe we scoot it over even a little bit more. Have it hang off that side a bit. And then I think what I'm going to do is, no, I don't want to pop this guy up on dimensional because I'm going to put the whole white thing up on dimensional. Let's keep it a little bit flatter here. So there we go. I'm going to take my little bow that jumped into my lap, and I'll take a little glue dot to attach that. Now this bow is very thin, so what I'm going to do with my glue dot, I'm going to stick my bow to it. It's a very rustic looking bow. And I'm going to use my scissors or my take your pick tool, whatever, just to kind of roll that little glue dot up next to it. And then take it off. And I can just, if I pinch the sides of it, I'm not really pinching the bottom of it. So we're going to just go in here with something that looks like that. I'll trim off the end. That was my husband or somebody coming in for some unknown reason. Might have been my son before he's headed off to bed. I'm recording this at almost 10 o'clock at night. Here we go. You can see that this adhesive is going to show through a little bit here, but that's all right because it's going to be covered up right like this. There we go. And now all I think we need to do is add some of these swirl dots. And I'm going to use these pecan pie looking ones. So let's see, let's put one up here on the vellum. It kind of calls attention to the vellum a little bit. And maybe we put one down here. You can figure out where you want to put yours. Maybe over here, maybe up here. I need a bit of a triangle. I wonder if I can move this one. Let me see. Let me put this one back. I think I've changed my mind where I want this one to go. Yeah, I didn't stick it down too hard. I'm gonna put this off here a little bit. And then that one can go probably, let's go right up here. We've got a nice little triangle going on. And there is our thanks so much card. And it opens this way. We can put in some decorations. So we had, what I would probably do here is I might cut a couple more cups and just put them inside. But you can do whatever you want. You can put a little piece of the DSP in there because we did cut some off, right? So we could take this and look, it's a little too small for the inside, right? But it's just stripes, so we could piece it together. I mean, there is no waste here. Let me show you. If I cut a 1/2 inch piece, and then I cut another 1/2 inch piece, I can put them together and figure out like, oh, like maybe I do this. So it just looks like we've got a long bunch of stripes in here. And then I'm just gonna put a line right across here. And that's where this is gonna go. I'm even gonna start off the edge here. And if they are going to overlap, I am going to need a little bit right here. People may be able to see or feel the difference there, but they won't be able to see the difference. You can't tell. Only if you feel it do you notice that there is more than one piece there. And then you just turn this over to trim it. But you can certainly stamp inside as well, as we did on the last card. I hope you are enjoying the projects so far. If you would like a class kit that will provide you with the consumables to create 2 of each of tonight's cards, then simply place an order of $35 or more in my online store. You'll find the link in the description of this video. This link has a host code attached that allows me to know and identify you as someone who is making an order in order to receive the class kit. If your order is $60 or more, I'm going to include a bonus for you. While supplies last, because sometimes they sell out, I'm going to provide you either with a package of the swirl dots or a half package of the designer series paper that goes as part of this suite. It's called a little latte. But let's get back to the projects. I'm going to cheat a little bit on my third card, and that is I've got some things already die cut, and I'll put those pieces together in a moment. But we're going to be starting with the craft note cards. And the craft note cards come in a box of 20 cards and 20 envelopes. And they have this nice little box that you can put together. It comes flat and you put it together. In fact, I kind of have how the package comes. It comes like this, where this back part is the box. And so it's a really great value. You know, a lot of little note cards, and you can end up gifting them. But we're going to start with this little note card, and I've got some ink on it the other night, so that's going to be the back. I'm bringing in a piece of this beautiful plaid from the Designer Series paper, and it measures, so the cards themselves are 3.5 by 5, and so this measures 3 by 4.5, so it's a 1/2 inch smaller, and this is going to be just 1/4 inch bigger than this layer, so this is 3.25 by 4 3/4, and we're just going to layer that all together. This particular piece of paper has petal pink as its main background, and then it's got stripes of calypso coral and lemon lolly, pecan pie, and lost lagoon, and of course white. I'll layer this right directly on the note card. There we go. Now, and I've cut out pieces to make my carafe. And if you recall, I have a diagram of how to put these pieces together. So I'm going to start with number 1, the carafe, and I've die cut that out of vellum because I wanted to give the impression of glass. So it's got to be somewhat transparent. And then I'm going to put on the handles, and I've done this out of gold foil. Now the first time I put my handle on, I thought, oh, this piece needs to go straight across the top. And it almost fits, but like this handle is wrong. And honestly, I am ashamed, I'm embarrassed to admit it took me way longer than it should have to figure out that this part is what goes up here. That's the handle part. And you can see when it's in position that I really only want to put the glue right here. And you need to be very light with your glue. I'm going to just spread that out here. And that goes so that the top of the handle reaches the top of the pot, and then it goes right in there. Just like that. Whoops, slide it over a little bit. There we go. And then the cover is going to go on right here. We'll just put a little bit of glue, and we just need to put it on the bottom rim here. And I got a little bit of glue oozing out here. All right. Now I need to put my coffee in. I'm going to put my coffee in. Now I could have put my coffee in before my handle and my top, but what I found is I have better placement if I put it in last. I can see where it goes. I don't want it to be hidden. This could probably go up a little bit higher, but it's not going to now. I'll just center this. And there we go. There's our pot of coffee. I've also die cut 2 white cups. Oh, and they look like they're the same ones. I was using this with my team the other night. So somebody grabbed 2 cups that went in the same direction instead of 2 in the opposite direction. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use one upside down, and it will look a little bit different, a little bit odd up close, but oh, actually, hold on. There we go. Now they're opposite. And I'll bring in, now I have the choice. When I die cut the little coffee things, we can have black coffee, or I could have one person that likes a little bit more milk in their coffee. So if you just wanted to do a second die cut, you certainly could, and make a different looking coffee. This might be one of those projects where someday when you have plenty of time, you just go ahead and you just die cut a bunch of these little coffee tops. So you have different colors when you need them. You might choose to hold off on doing the cups themselves because you might want to color code those cups to your project. But coffee's coffee. It's going to come in, you know, with milk or black. Now we're going to put this into our project here. And I'm going to use some dimensionals, but just on this guy, I think. I mean, I can do it on the coffee cup too, I suppose. And you want to do it where it's not going to show through the vellum. So make sure that there's some other stuff in front of it. So I'm going to put this right up here, and I'm straddling the vellum. It just reinforces that a little bit, that glued on piece. So there's our coffee pot. And then we're going to put down our coffee cups just like this. And you can decide if your handles are like that, or if they're going together. I think they look weird like that. So I'm just going to put them together like this. And you can have them crooked. You could have them straight. Let's see, do I want to put those? We can go ahead and put those up on dimensionals too, I guess. If I can use my fingers to get under here. So here's one cup. Straighten it out. And here's my other cup. Let's go ahead and bring in a sentiment. I'm trying to use different sentiments on each card. So I think the "Hey there, let's catch up" is a good one for this particular card, because it looks like you're asking somebody to get together for coffee. I'm going to bring in that Calypso Coral to brighten things up a little bit, because coffee's kind of a drab color. Oops. Put that in my ink. And I'm going to fussy cut this. There's no die that goes with this. Now, if you had a die, you could probably use one. But sometimes it's just nice to kind of go with the sentiment itself. I'm just cutting around. Where there's a dip, I dip. Where there's a higher letter, I go higher. This one's going to need me to go a little bit deeper in here. Here we go. I'm just trying to keep the border relatively uniform all the way around. And here we go. And then this last part, I think we can just kind of go straight across. Oop, I didn't go straight across though, so we just need to fix that a little bit. There we go. Let's go ahead and add some dimensionals to this. And let's use this long little strip right here. Oops, that's already cut in a couple pieces. All right, we can do that. There's that. And over here, This little piece I think is sticking out, so we'll just do a little surgery on him. Take him off. Where's my card? I'll put this right up here. Hello there, let's catch up. And that's our third card. For this last card, we're going to do a fun fold. I'm going to begin with a piece of pecan pie, and I want to cut it 8 1/2. Well, it's already cut 8 1/2. So in the other direction, I'll cut it at 4 1/4. And then we're going to turn it, and we're going to score it at 3 inches, or 5 1/2 if you're measuring from the other side, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's one part of our card. We also need a piece of Calypso coral, and I need a piece that is 3 inches by 8 inches. So there's my 3. And here's my 8. And then I'm going to score that at 4 inches, so in half. And this makes a little mini card. This fold that I'm working on is called a Joy Fold, but this has got a little extra, so it's a Joy Fold gift card holder. So I've got these 2 little pieces now. I'm going to burnish. Joy Folds are great for showcasing designer series paper. I'm going to bring in a piece of designer series paper. Let's bring in this particular pattern, which is kind of a coffee swirl. And I need a piece that is 4 inches. And that's not 4 inches. I'm going to bring in this piece of designer series paper because it's also got this on the back of it. And I'm going to cut it to 4 inches by 5 1/4. And this piece is going to go on my pecan pie. Pecan pie. You say tomato, I say tomato. Sometimes they say tomato too, whatever you call it. And we're going to put this right here. So with this folded, this is the outside, this is the inside. We'll just adhere that down. I have all sorts of different color combinations in your class kit, because you'll get to choose whichever side you want to feature here. Okay. And on this front side, we need a different pattern. I'm going to bring in this one. Now this piece, remember, was 3 inches by 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut down this layer to 2 3/4 by, and I want this one. Now, if this one, I'm sorry, I should have told you before. If this has a direction, like maybe you're using the coffee cups, because the coffee cups, or some of the coffee cup patterns have a direction. The mugs go up and down. Then you would want it in portrait mode. For this piece right here, you want it to be landscape. So right side up is longer than it is tall. In this particular case, I do want my hearts going up and down. So I want the height of them to be 2 3/4. And I want the length of them to be 4. So that's going to go right here on the front. These measurements are in the PDF tutorial that I will send in an email once I get notice that you've asked for the class kit via your order. I also need another piece that goes in here, but I don't need it quite so tall. I think I'm going to use the same pattern. So I do want it still 4 inches wide. In fact, I could probably cut it at 4 1/4 and it'll be a little bit safer for me. But I want it 1 1/2 inches. Sorry, I'm cutting off the side, but this is just 1 1/2 tall by 4 inches wide. This is going to be my gift card holder. Because the gift card is not is going to have to fit in here, I need to put my adhesive very close to the edge. You do not want to use tear and tape here unless you're going to cut it 4 1/4 inches wide, because there just simply isn't enough room to glue it down or to adhere it down with tear and tape or Seal Plus and get your gift card in there. I'll show you in a minute that this does hold a gift card, but I want to let that glue set up for just a second. So we've got part of it done. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my little mini card again, right here. And this is going to get adhered to that inside panel DSP. I just center this in here on this back piece. So the way a joy fold card works is they kind of fit inside each other. So this flap goes in here and that one sandwiches like that. So now we just need to decorate this piece right here. Let's bring in, remember this side? I liked this side as well, and it goes really nicely with my cup. Let's cut this piece. Now this card, remember, was 3 inches by 4, so we're going to cut it at 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And again, the measurements are in the PDF, so you don't have to really remember this or write it down from the video if you get the class kit. So that's going to go right there. All right, what do you say we stamp something? I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock. And I think I'll just bring in my stamp set, of course. We're going to use this mug. We haven't used that one yet. And we have one more sentiment to go. We're going to use that on this card as well. I'm going to keep it in Calypso Coral. I will be die cutting this out. Now, if I take my ink pad and I close it and I squeeze the covers together, I put ink up here. And so then you can take a water painter. So water painters come in packs of 3. And I had my group just use the bigger one. It goes faster with the bigger one. You just, the water is held in the barrel and you just squeeze where it says push for the water to come out. I don't want it too wet. Hopefully this will be all right. And I'm just gonna paint in here just a little bit. I don't want to overpaint because it will, you'll see it start to wrinkle the paper, and even if you rub much with it, like with a blender pen, you would find that you would be tearing it up a little bit as well. So maybe I just put a little bit of color right around this rim. Even with this wider point brush, it's pretty easy to do. The cleanness, I can just rub it on some scrap paper. Believe it or not, this is scrap paper. It's old cardstock. It's not a color I use anymore. Until it runs clear. You can also run it under tap water if you're too impatient. But there are other sizes, and it looks like they used this one tonight, the other night as well. So I'll just rinse this one out. It's still got paint in the tip, but there's a very fine tip one, and then there's a medium tip, and then of course the wide tip. So we can let that dry. We do need the inside of that. We need a little coffee in that coffee cup. So I'll get that image out. And let's go ahead and bring in the pecan pie for the coffee color. Both the early espresso and pecan pie are in some of the DSP that we used. There we go. And if you wanted to color more of that with your, with your water painter so that you didn't have that white edge, you certainly could. We're going to leave this as artistic license right here. And we will die cut it. I think what I'll also do is, we haven't used that little spoon, have we? I'm going to bring in a scrap of smoky slate. I'm going to stamp with a darker color. I'll bring in the basic gray. And we'll just ink up my little spoon. Ooh, it's bigger than I thought it was. And we'll stamp it right there. And now we can die cut both of these at the same time. Ooh, what I should have done is we'll also need a piece to go inside the card, because Calypso Coral is a little bit of a strong color to write on. So I will need a piece that is 2 3/4 by 4 for that as well. Oops, and I just got that one dirty, so we're gonna go trim off this side. So that's what's gonna go on the inside. Now remember this coffee cup, when I stamped it here, I don't think I've cleaned it. So I'm just gonna huff on it. And I'm gonna stamp it. It just gives me a very light image. That lighter image is going to allow me to write over it and have everything, be seen fine. I will bring in my pecan pie again, though, because we do need a sentiment. And because this is a gift card holder, how perfect is this little sentiment that says, "This one's on me"? Pretty perfect, I think. Let's go ahead, ink that up in my pecan pie. And my block is pretty dirty. I need to wash that. We're going to just stamp that right up there. This one's on me. If you want to put in a couple of coffee beans, you can put in some coffee beans. I'm not going to bother. Go ahead and put this in the card. So I'm just giving my cardstock over here a little bit of time to dry. Probably will help a little bit more with the cutting process. Oh, I cut it at 4 and it's not supposed to be 4. It's supposed to be 3 3/4. We're gonna do something, because I'm not gonna put the glue in my paper trimmer. We're gonna just try to cut this straight with scissors. Well, I think I did a pretty good job. Yeah, I did a really good job. I'm kind of surprised myself. All right. So all we need to do is that front piece. We're gonna take this now, and we're gonna take our spoon, and we're going to die cut. Let's move this out of the way. Bring in our die cutting machine and our plates. 1, 2, 3. That piece right there. We'll bring in our coffee cup. And again, I'm gonna little on the edge and just eyeball it and put this right over the top, trying not to move it at all as I put it through the machine. Got my phone plugged in, so I think it's wiggling the camera set up a little bit more than normal. There's our coffee cup. That one didn't cut out so well, did it? So what happens? I'm going to show you some of the other ones that I've done. I should have gone ahead and used my washi tape, but you can just clean it up a little bit. If there's a little bit too much white in some areas, just clean it up a little bit. Easy peasy. Okay. I'm all about showing you what not to do. You know what else I didn't do? At the same time, I was supposed to be die cutting my spoon. That would have been smart to do all at once. And I would have definitely done washi tape with this one, or painter's tape or something like that. I've got a piece of painter's tape, and I'm going to get my spoon die out. Line that up. I think that's pretty good. And we'll give this a pass through our machine. Whoa, I'm really winding up the power cord now. Ooh, and I moved everything. How'd that happen? I hope I'm not having to reshoot this video because I've been out of frame the whole time. All right. Very carefully remove the tape. You don't want to rip your paper, at least not where the stamped image is. See what a much better job of die cutting that did, because I wasn't moving it. All right, and now we're just going to bring back in our card front and put our pieces on. We need some dimensionals. Dimensionals make everything more fun. I go through dimensionals like candy. I love my candy too. So we're gonna just put this right up here, I think, sort of in the center. And then I will attach my spoon, probably with just regular adhesive. See how I want that. How am I gonna attach? How do I want my spoon to sit? I think just across the bottom there. I'll just put a little bit of adhesive right in here. That will be enough. To support the spoon, if you wanted to, you could have also cut slivers of dimensional and put them on the ends. I think this will be just fine though. And so I told you I'd bring in a gift card. This isn't a gift card, but it's the same size as the gift card. And it fits right in there. So you have a nice little gift card holder. Oh wait, You know what else we need? We need some of our dots. Let's bring in our swirl dots. And I think we could do with some of these. They're just going to be very subtle on here. One. I mean, we could even use different colored dots too, right? Let's use 3 different colors. Variety. Use my take your pick tool. I want to have a little bit of balance here. I don't like that. I don't like that one. Let's see, where do I want to put it though? I think I'm going to have to pick it up at the pointy side. Nope. If I flip this over, look, I've got a little spatula. I can pick it up with the spatula side. I think I can put it, well, or at least I can move it around. Let's see, do I want it here? Yeah, that's actually pretty good, I think. Here we go. We've got our little triangle of dots. You could put on some more if you wanted to. But there is your gift card holder. And that is our 4th and final card of the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you are as much in love with this latte love sweet as I am. I'm not a coffee drinker, remember, so that's saying something, but I do see the value in having this bundle. If you are planning on placing an order in order to qualify for the class kit, you must do so by this coming Sunday evening. Thank you so much for joining me once again, and I will see you next time.